All right, there we go.
All right. So let's see if this actually works.
What program are you using for your show, Terry?
This is a bridge. So just, first I want to say thank you to Stephanie, and thanks to my brother and my dear friend Margaret, who's not on the call, who helped me curate this. I have lots and lots of photos. I dabble in many, many different topics, but we're going to cover just a few here today. Travel, street, photojournalism, and some photo art and specialty type things along those lines. I've been interested in photography my entire life, but 2005 is probably when I really started getting really serious about it. I took a lot of workshops, worked with a lot of professionals, and tried to get good at it. Tried to forget everything I did for a living. Anyway, I want to start it with this because this is a very kind of, the tragic event we're watching on TV every day. But I took this picture of this poster on an alley in Paris a couple of years ago, and boy, sure makes a lot of sense right now. I'm going to start with United States travel, and I do a lot of road trips, and my travel is I do a lot of advanced planning for when I do trips, and this photo here has no planning at all. I'll talk about that in a moment. But normally I check out the tides, I check out the sun, the moon. I chart it all out. Trish, you've been on trips with me. You're pretty familiar with what I do to set my own scene, to know what's going on, and I do a lot of planning. But this photo here was taken at the 2017 Women's March. It's pouring rain. I don't know how many of you were at that march. Peg, you probably were there. I look down this street. I'm on the march. We're almost to the end of the march, and I see this scene, and I'm photographing through a rain cover on my camera, so I couldn't see the settings. I leaned up against a light post. I snapped off 3 shots, and I've got this image. It is sold probably 30 times, mostly in metal, very reflective. So it's something I was very happy to get. Those folks of you that live in Marin probably know about Point Mendocino and the bowling ball beach. Donald, you been up there?
No, I haven't, but a good friend of mine has. Yeah.
So this is a place where you really want to check out low tides with light. Sometimes your negative tide is in the middle of the night, isn't gonna help you much. But so you got to match the tide with usually the sunrise, and you just sit there. You get there early enough, and you just wait for the tide to come in, and you do slow motion shot on a tripod. Mono Lake. All the photographers that were there on this particular day were looking the other direction at the sunset, and I turned around and looked at the other side. Donald, you mentioned that the other day when we were out at Loch Lomond.
Yeah,
it's often the other side of the sunset that's really important, and that's exactly what I got. And you can see the sun reflecting on those hills in the background, the Golden Hills.
Yeah.
But that was a beautiful
Quite a contrast.
Bodie.
Yeah.
This is a selective color photograph, and it was really painstaking to get all that grass gray and keep that rust. And so this is taken at Bodie State Historical Park, another California place most people get to at one point or another. I've been there a bunch of times. It's just a wonderful place. Anybody know Marty Knapp?
Oh yeah.
Well, Marty and I went out and did Joshua Tree for a week on a super bloom in 2016. We got up about 4 in the morning and went out to shoot. We were actually looking for the Milky Way, and we did get some of that. I'm not very good at that type of photography, but this was my silhouetted shot. I really loved this shot of the Joshua trees and the dropping moon or rising moon. I don't know what it was at that time. So
beautiful. Yeah.
Death Valley. I've been to Death Valley 10 times. I don't go too much anymore because I'm not so much about getting up at 3 in the morning to get out on the dunes. But you really have to go out there. You have to leave really early because the wind picks up overnight, gets rid of all the footprints, and you want to see the sun hit the dunes and the shadows.
Yeah.
And it's a long walk. It doesn't seem like a long walk but walking on sand, you know, with 50 pounds of camera gear, you'll feel it. But
Is it a longer walk back, Terry?
yeah, usually it is. And honestly, here's the deal. If the wind picks up, you've got to get out of there really quick because there's nothing worse than sand and cameras. We actually put all our camera gear in black plastic bags. You change the lenses in the plastic bag.
Good idea.
You know, you do not want that fine sand. You can't see it, but it'll get inside the camera. So, you know, it's just a little trick of the trade.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shot, Terry. That texture on that foreground is incredible.
Yeah. And you can see this is an f/22 ISO 100. So I'm shooting on a tripod.
Yeah.
This was just taken a couple of weeks ago. And my wife, who's got Parkinson's, she was testing out her new rollator. And so we took her out there and went on the trail. I thought it'd be a great place. And of course, I have to take a camera and look at those light beams over Redwood Creek.
Yeah.
What kind of lens were you using back in Death Valley?
You know, probably that was before I had the newer one. So it's probably a f4 70 24 105 or 124, something like that. 24 1 something like that. I think it's 24 105. Yeah. Yeah, I should have mentioned all of my gear is Canon. So
all your gear is what?
Canon.
Oh, Canon.
Yeah. So this photo, it's got a little bit of a story to it. I posted this photo on a couple of Oregon sites, got something like 20,000 likes on it.
Really?
Amazing. I didn't realize how many people in Oregon like their coastal shots. And but I focused about a third of the way down on the steps. It has a very low f-stop, but I still managed to get a fair amount of detail out of it. You know, so it was just an amazing shot, just what we call a line of sight shot. So
How many
I mean, if you look at it real close, it's got some grain in it. But
how many calendars is that shot in, Terry?
Huh?
How many calendars is that shot in?
Yeah, I don't know.
Should I assume you did a ton of work on that sky, or is that what it looked like that day?
I popped it out.
It's really neat. Love it.
Nice job.
Now ask that question on this one.
Oh.
This guy, well, it wasn't exactly like that. But needless to say, it needed something besides a blown out white sky. And so I did a little bit add to it.
Yeah.
But the original photograph was actually all about the pampas grass, all about the grass, you know, and that's what I focused on with the F10s, a decent depth of field. And we photographed this lighthouse from every direction you could possibly imagine, but this was my best shot. And then on the way out of Oregon, this is a 2-shot series here. I went to buy my daughter a t-shirt, and this lady said, "Hey, you got to go over to Lithia Park." And so we went over to Lithia Park, and boy, look at this park. It was just gorgeous. I mean, the reflective on this pond, it's just an amazing. I've never seen so much color in one place. For anybody who wants to get to the slots, this is well worth it. Arizona, this is a Navajo country, and there are a couple of slots in this series. We had to crawl through this little thing. So again, all these shots in this area is all done on tripod to get because it's at f/14. But they're as you can see, the reflective light. Now I've got light. some with beams and all kinds of other things. I'm just pulling us some sampling, but I've got lots and lots of photographs in this. But you hire a guide or a tour or whatever. We had a private guide that took us through these things, so we had quite a bit of time in each of these areas to photograph it. It's amazing, as you can see.
I would be really interested in seeing people's side-by-side photos of as shot and as finished.
You'll see. Well, I don't think I have too many of those, but you'll see some other things or some comparison. But that's something good for the future.
Yep.
This is dunes, but this is white sands. And anybody who knows anything about white sands, it's actually not sand at all. It's gypsum. So, and again, I got there very early in the morning, and all the only footprints were, I guess, lizards.
Yeah.
That's about all that was there.
Yeah.
You can see there's definitely animal tracks of some
Yeah.
sort.
Mm.
Monument Valley Tribal Park. Again, usually I try to hire a guide if I'm going back in. Guides can be very inexpensive. I mean, this guy charged me like $60 and took me back for several hours. And in Monument Valley, you can only go on the tourist trail, the paved thing. We actually went off road. So I'm back in there with my four-wheeler in the sand and the mesa and everything else, and to get these types of shots. And I'm on top of a mesa here. Really, $60 took me out there for almost 6 hours.
Wow.
I don't know how he makes a living, to tell you the truth, but
Wow.
Yeah.
What time of year?
this was in the spring, probably April. The Palouse. Anybody been to the Palouse?
No.
Another place with beautiful skies, and a lot of form. This has been popped out a little bit, but it's just a gorgeous place. Same thing from Steptoe Butte.
Unbelievable.
And by the way, to get to this butte, you have to get up at 3 in the morning, because the nearest hotel is probably an hour or 2 hours away. So you can catch the sun coming up, and then you got to drive up to the top of the butte and catch the sun coming up, and then you'll see all these colors. This was taken in June.
Really?
So you can see the various. They grow wheat, they grow lentils, different types of soy, and other kinds of things out there. But so everything's got its own set of colors.
It's incredible.
And the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta, I've been there twice. Can't remember which one this was, but this was the night glow. They don't fly the balloons at night; they only fly them in the morning. But at night, they light them all up, and it's just a spectacular shot.
Can I ask a question about that last image?
Yeah.
So you shot it at you shot it at 1/8 of a second. So
Yeah, I'm on it.
how come everybody is still? How come everybody looks sharp?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they're all standing still.
you just said don't move, and they all stood there.
Yeah.
Hold
I'm at ISO 400. I'm on a tripod. So, but you're right. I mean, these are the actual metadata that came off the image. So,
Wow.
and I have no idea. It was a long time ago. Different camera. Who knows? In the last 10 years, I've been to I don't know how many countries in Europe, and unfortunately, the last 2 years I haven't been anywhere. There's an interesting story. I was talking to Stephanie about this. I can't sell this photo because the light show of the Eiffel Tower is copyrighted. And in order to sell it, you have to get permission from the people that hold the copyright. You can take the photos and you can post them, but you can't technically sell them. Now, I don't know how that works versus US versus France, but needless to say, you don't want to mess around with them. But this was taken in a rainstorm. My wife was holding an umbrella over my head, while I was trying to take this photo. But anyway, it turned out to be real nice.
Wow.
By the way, when you go to Death Valley and some of these other places, if you go in there with a group and you got a bunch of tripods, you need to get a photographer's permit to photograph there. Even in Mount Tam, I think they have the same thing. If you show up with a lot of people,
Yeah.
state parks and national parks.
Yeah.
Cobb Island, reflections. Just, I mean, I love reflections. Who
Yep.
cannot love reflections?
Beautiful.
Venice, the sunrise.
Wow.
Great colors.
Toronto, more reflections.
Incredible.
I mean, it's just when you go to Venice, it's just
What time of day was that, Terry? What time of day?
it was probably in the morning.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
looks like morning
and
light.
we get a variety of weather over there. So we got clouds and some bright blue skies, but a lot of cloudy days when I was there. This is not far from my brother and my great grandfather's home in Voltago, Italy, and this is the Dolomiti. And I drove all around up in this area for a couple of days while I was visiting Voltago. Just amazing. I mean, we think we've got beautiful landscape. Italy is just out of this world when you get up into the Dolomiti. Edinburgh, Scotland, Old Town.
Great shot.
I failed to mention that I have this filing methodology, but one thing I do is I have close to 200 themes that I put photos in, and this is in an arch theme, so things with arches, and I just happen to like this. There's a little bit of play on this. I grayed out the arch, but left the people walking through it in color, and then the background in color.
Oh.
So you can do some techniques here with software.
I didn't even notice that until you mentioned it. Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be more brownish. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're rebuilding it, but this was the year before Notre Dame burned. Now it's all scaffolds.
Wow.
And I was supposed to be going to Paris next week, but that trip got canceled. So just as well, because I don't want to take pictures of scaffolds.
Yeah.
And the place that I stay at, this little apartment I rent, is maybe a 10-minute walk to the Louvre. And so I had planned to take this photo and wait for the Louvre to close, wait for the people to clear the area, and then get it right when the sun was going down. You can see the stars, so F-18 is going to give you some stars over there on the left. This is just a pretty natural shot taken on a tripod. So if the higher your f-stop is, the more likely you're going to get starbursts in your photos. In Cuba, I spent 2 weeks in Cuba a couple of years ago. I'm going to show some photos of this, but way back in the distance, there is a little farm, and I'm going to show, I think it might be the next photo, but this is the Vanales Valley. The next one is the Malecon in Havana. And I didn't know I'd even got this shot until I went back and looked. I didn't realize I had picked up the light beams. But this is Sundown Fisherman. This is the farm that I mentioned that is in the background of that previous photo. If you go back, way back into, I can't point it, you won't see it, but way back there, you see a little white house. That's this house here. And Anna and Francisco at that time, they've now retired from it, they ran this non-mechanized farm. They did all their work with oxen and carts. And I'll show a picture of those two a little later. Just city life in Havana. It's just the whole area is just stopped still 60 years ago. Lots of old cars, buildings in disrepair, but people are happy. They were when I was there. I mean, things have changed quite a bit now, but Dingle, Ireland. Just a side light coming in over the fog burning off.
What kind of elevation gain is there from where you are to the top of that hill?
You know what? I'm on a road looking down at it. I couldn't tell you precisely the elevation piece of it, but you know, that mountain is fairly tall, but everything is coming out of sea level. That's the thing about it. It's almost like Marin County, where Mount Tam looks a lot taller than it actually is, you know, because it comes right out of sea level.
Yeah.
I heard all about these white horses of the Cameroon, and you know, we drove all around this national park. I couldn't find any, and then I was driving from one spot to another, and I spied these horses. Traffic was heavy. I pulled off the side of the road, and just so happened to have a 300mm on my camera, and was able to get this shot of these two horses going at it. But they're just the wild horses. They're like Mustangs, you know, that roam around this park. Little street photography in Venice. This guy looks like some kind of guru of some sort. And a little street photography. These are both. This was taken from a boat. This was a hip shot. You know, I just, you know, I didn't ask permission or anything. I just took the picture. Two artists having a conversation. You know, and it's perfectly great street photography.
Sure.
This is a series of 3 shots of Manarola.
Nice.
So this is the first night, F11 on a tripod. Night 2, same spot. We stayed in that little pink hotel right there in the center of the thing on a balcony. And then third night was the money shot. And this one here has done real good for me as well. So once again, you can see I'm now at F22. I've got some starbursts on it. You see the milky texture of the water. You know, when you're shooting on a tripod at 30 seconds, F22, you're going to get that type of effect. And it's still a reasonably sharp and good depth of field on the image.
Oh, so when you're saying starburst, you mean just the lights? I was
The light
I was
when
trying
they
to find the stars in the sky. So
no, starbursts of the lights. Exactly right. So
got it.
and you know, depending, you can get them very sharp. You can also add them. They're a little fakish with Topaz or one of the other softwares. I prefer not. I prefer to try to get my own naturally.
Yeah.
Okay, how are we doing on time, Stephanie?
We're at 23 minutes.
All right, this is Francisco. He lived on that farm. This is taken with a. I don't do a lot of single focal lens, but this is a f1.2 lens, and you know, it's on my business card. This is one of my won a couple of awards in the past. It's just a really good picture. But you know, you can see the over his shoulder. There's a light beam coming in, so the smoke is backlit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it right in his face. And this is his wife, Anna. While he was rolling us cigars in the back room, she was making us demi-tasses and brought them out in assortment of different cups and stuff like that. There was 10 of us on this little tour.
Oh man.
How did you meet these people? You were on tour. You on a tour?
I was on a photography tour. It's really the way you want to do Cuba, and a lot of countries of this type. You want to go with a tour, not a tourist tour, a photography tour where they've got connections. They get you to the right places. They know the people. They can get you into their homes. And so we managed to get to a lot of places that, you know, the average tourist wouldn't see, or they would see it in such a huge group. You couldn't do much more than just be in everybody's way. But like I said, this was a they had no mechanical, just mechanical equipment, no electric, no diesel, no nothing on the whole farm. And they raised their tobacco and rolled their own thing. We walked across that entire valley and showed you in a previous picture. Recent photo taken, just somebody waiting for a bus. taking a nap while doing it. Another street photography. Perfectly legitimate street photography. Somebody looking down the street. You're going to see from my portraitures, I don't always need to feel, I don't need the eye on me, but I like it that way. But I also like to show it. So here's a portraiture that also is a combination of street. So the person's not looking at me, is looking down the street. She knows I'm taking her photograph, but she's looking down the street towards something else. I didn't ask her to pose. I couldn't. I didn't speak Spanish, but that turned out to be. I just laid in a blue door.
And look at the dirt on the top sill.
Yep.
Well, hang there by their fingers a lot.
Well, in Cuba, people spend a lot of time hanging out their doors and out their windows. So it's hot there. They don't have air conditioning, you know, and people, they're in the street all the time. And so they're constantly communicating with each other through their, and they have all these Dutch doors and Dutch window types. You know, so in this particular case, it's a window, and not a door.
It's great.
This is a car mechanic. I looked into the thing to see what he was doing, and then he came to the window, and I asked if I could take his picture. And you can tell he's got, his hands are a little blistered up there. I mean, obviously, you can tell he's a mechanic, and he was working on vintage cars. They will, most of the cars there are General Motors. They're mostly from the 50s. And so as anybody who's as old as a few of us knows that in the 50s, most of the General Motors parts were interchangeable.
Yeah.
And Oldsmobile, Buick, Pontiac, they all use the same stuff. You
Yeah.
can move bumpers from one to the next. So
Yeah.
this was taken up in Sonoma at the Kathmandu festival. Why that thing popped up again? Kind of on this, see if I can get rid of this. I don't know if you guys are seeing that or not. This was just on the street, Market Street. You know, I asked if I could take his picture, and he said, yeah. And he put his hand out. I gave him $5.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it just, you know, you sometimes
Right.
wonder how old these folks are, but you'd be surprised quite often the street ages their faces.
Yep.
So, I mean, he may not have been that old. Could have been in his early 60s when he might look a lot older than that. But
Great shot.
I'm stuck. Wait a minute. There you
I
go.
loved the texture in the shot before too, the woman in Sonoma.
Yeah. Kind of on this is just on the street type thing at Goat Rock and Jenner. You know, this guy, there's a lot of stuff that I've done to this. I've changed the background on it. You know, it's got a grunge filter on top of it. Sometimes when a photo is not that clear or not that sharp, you know, doing a little bit of grunge to it or some other stuff can make it a really nice photo. And so I just happened to like how he was dressed and everything, smoking his joint, you know. There's a similar guy, but he's actually a protester at a Yemeni rally. He's got the Yemeni flag Yemen flag wrapped around him.
Great job.
I'm going to show you this picture because this is a series of 2 pictures. And take a look at the glasses at the top. You see that fogginess up there?
In the mountains.
Yeah, you
This
just
guy.
look at the top of the rim of her glasses.
Mhm.
Now look, exact same photo.
Wow, really?
You didn't retouch that?
I don't recall retouching it. I would have had to have been very good at what I did. I might have done a fade on it on the thing, but I couldn't get rid of it in the color. But when you're dealing with tones,
Yeah.
you can do that with gray tone. You cannot do it with colors.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you that going to black and white, particularly on portraits, is a huge advantage because these are like two different photos, you know. You know, to me, I mean, granted, the crop's a little different, but you know, her eyes are popping out a lot better in this photo here.
Yeah, black and white improves all kinds of portraits, especially if people have red skin tones.
Yeah, sure does. Now we're going into some more event photography and some
Nice
protest.
earrings.
Yeah, great earring. Day of the Dead is a great place to go. This is Garfield Square in the Mission. The folks love to be photographed. I always ask, you know, because I want their eye contact. They're always decorated up beautifully, and you know, this was taken at the first one I actually went to. It was actually pretty dark that night, but I did clean up the background a little bit, and didn't do any vignetting on it. I just darkened it all up, popped her out. There's Ralph. And by the way, that was Marta before. So I do get their names when I can. I carry a little pad with me and I write people's names down. Ralph he's a legend when it comes to decorating himself at Carnival. I've got him on probably 4 or 5 different shots, different outfits. This was taken with a 300mm across the street. I'm working the parade. But once the parade is moving, you can't often go back and forth. So he was on the other side. It was just a beautiful shot, and I managed to get it. And darn sharp, he's looking at me, but I don't think he's actually looking at me because, you know, I'm probably 80 feet away.
How much have you cropped that photo?
Not much. Not much. And I didn't soften the background either. So it's shot at f4.
Oh.
And again, I like smoke. This lady is part of the blessing, the Aztec blessing that they do for the carnival every year. Smoke's hard to photograph, but I'll call it a luck shot. So a little story behind this. I'm working with a scrum of 14 photographers. We're 8 feet in front of this bench, all crammed in together in front of a hedge. So we couldn't even back up. And I'm the only one for some reason that had a wide angle lens on. And so I shot this at probably f16 or something like that. And it's timing, right place, right time, pure luck. And I caught the guy in action. And I gave the photo to him. Which I do if I know the people, I'll get that photo over to them, I'll connect with them or whatever. But I don't think I could do this twice, to tell you the truth.
Great shadows down below, so I guess the sun was straight up.
Yeah, it's the middle of the day.
Oh, yeah.
I thank you for mentioning that because I did not notice that before.
What year was that?
I think this is 2018.
Okay, I think I was there.
You might have been, yeah. Another carnival shot. I've done carnival many years now. I'm one of the volunteer photographers. And what's notable about this photo is that it was the marketing piece for the Fat Tuesday.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
you know, they picked it up, got my little name on the bottom. So this is 2019. It says right there. The photo was in 2019, but this is the 2020. This is the last event I did before COVID, March 25th. And excuse me, February 25th. And COVID hit what? The next month we got hit by COVID.
March 15th.
Yeah. Another smoke shot. This is Chris. And again, this is in color and then in black and white. I happen to like the color better on this little series here.
Mm-hmm.
Little bit of a protest. Ukraine's at the top of our mind. I just happen to like this photo. You know, for some reason I saw this lady with this jacket on and the signs in the background. And one of the things I remember telling Stephanie about the whole thing about protests is that you want to get the signs, you want to get the people in and give, give evidence that it's a protest, and there's, where are they located? I mean, anybody knows San Francisco? No, that's the Ferry
Ferry
Building.
building.
Yeah,
Mm.
so this is taken at Marina Green, and it's a Black Lives Matters photo. I just happen to like it. It does have some work on it. It's got some vignetting going on. The background has been desaturated a little bit, not to pop, mostly to pop her out, but not by popping her out, but by reducing the color in the background.
Mhm. Yeah. It's a great shot.
This guy was getting arrested. This is the climate summit. And these are the kind of shots you, as a photojournalist, you want to get these kinds of shots, because they're showing the real action of what's really going on.
Yeah.
Extinction Rebellion doing some theater.
Mm.
These ladies dress up and do all kinds of interesting stuff, but this is all climate related against Wells Fargo.
An amazing photo.
And once again, another one, another just typical protest. And we all know what goes on with Breonna Taylor. So. This image here of Gian and her daughter was a ribbon winner for photojournalism at the Marin County Fair. And after I picked it up, I drove to San Francisco, found Johan, and gave her the photo. I kept the ribbon, but I gave her the photo. Photo art, selective color. And, I don't do too much of this anymore, but I like to play with it. Sanibel Island, rainbow things. I like, this is kind of what I do in the evening sometimes when I got nothing better to do. And I just play with photos, because every image you shoot, you can have it in color, you can have it black and white, you can do some impressionistic. There's a lot of things you can do with photos. And it just, in my way, it just keeps me entertained.
Did you paint a lot of that with a Wacom or with the pen, or did you do a lot of that software?
It's all done with software, and sometimes it's multiple apps on top of apps.
Mm-hmm.
So I will, it's art at this point. So if there's something in there I don't like, there's a person someplace I don't want in the photo, I'll take them out, so it's pure art.
Terry, I'm just reminding you, because you said you wanted me to, you're at 38 minutes.
30, well, we're almost done.
Perfect.
So this is taken in Paris.
Yes,
You
I
get a little fall
recognize it.
color. Yeah, and this is just it's a lovely scene. It's lovely even without the
It's funny.
impressions. Yeah. This is taken right here in Jordan Vineyard. Taken in Lisbon, Chicago Square. I meet these people. I photographed this lady, and then we went out someplace else across town to have some ice cream, and they showed up and they did the dance right in front of us again the same night.
I can't see your exposures. I'd love to see, or can you see it?
F28, this is handheld, by the way. So this F28 130 ISO 250. Bath, England. Again, so similar type. I happen to like, this is the Edward Hopper filter. I just happen to like it a lot.
Oh,
What it does, and I use topaz mostly in my impressionistic work. Infrared, Mount Tam.
That's cool.
Don't do too much infrared. I got a camera that's set up for infrared. It's
Rode my
old.
bike through there yesterday.
Yeah, I just it just takes me extra effort to get the camera out, so I just hardly ever do it. I don't do it a lot, but it's always fun. at the right situation.
Love it.
Then we're coming to the end of this. I've got about 6 more slides.
Mm.
This is going to show the before and after of an impressionistic series. So this was the shot I took in Castlecombe, England. And this is the impressionistic shot. As you can see, I removed the road lines because my idea was when they built this town, they didn't have road lines. Yeah. You can still see the bicycle in the back, you know, beautiful little town.
Nice job.
This is an alley in this is an award winner as well, an alley in Porto. And it's funny, one of the Margaret, the lady that helped me with some of the curating, she does digital art and she loves animals, and I didn't even notice that there was a cat in the image until she told me, because I'm not I don't have pets except coyotes. So that was the first shot, and this was the one that actually won the award, was the impressionistic thing. And it's interesting, I have to say that the guy on the right there, on the original photo, and if but Sierra said he'd like to see the originals, you could not see his face. I shoot in RAW, so I was able to pop out his face just by adjusting the exposure. But it wasn't even visible in the original that came out of the camera. But by going back into RAW and adjusting the exposures, I was able to pull the face out. It was there all along. It was just darkened. And then this is in Havana, and again, here's the impressionistic shot.
Mm.
And that is it.
That was San Quentin.
Thank you.
Good.
Gary, thank you so much.
It's coming back to you now, dear.
All right. All right, so we're starting a tradition here, or a custom. We're gonna have our presenter will be the person coming up with our challenge of the month. And let me get that on the screen. If you want to take a screenshot, you can.
Yeah.
Terry's
Great.
proposing we hit the streets and do some street photography.
Right.
Well, I'll be in San Francisco all next week, so I'll have the opportunity.
You're going to be way ahead of all of us, though.
Great,
Yeah,
okay.
really.
We're going to see your feet shots.
Actually, it'll just be my cell phone, though. I'm not going to take my good camera over there.
Okay, well,
Just cell phone.
but if
It's
you
just-
take pictures of your own feet, we'll know.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
sneak your cat into MoMA and I'll take pictures of it.
yeah, right, there you go. I'll try.
So
The
and
Whale Fest is this weekend in Monterey, so I'll get hopefully some cool images of people admiring things.
There you go. Perfect.
Some fishermen.
Yeah, if you see them.
You got to get up early.
Right.
so the next thing I want to mention, oh, and after you shoot, make sure you post them on Facebook so we can all see what you've done. And the other thing I want to mention is our next presenter will be Raven Sky, who's here tonight. And she says she is an urban wildlife photographer focusing on native and urban wildlife. So this should be very, very interesting. And the last thing I want to say, we are planning our next field trip. We have a date. I found this little graphic. I like how it said this 150-foot Ferris wheel is a whirring, why can't I say that? Blinking, spinning tangle of LED lights. So we thought we'd all go to the Ferris wheel in San Francisco from 6 to 8. And I'm frantically looking up the date here because I forget what it is. Do you remember, Donald?
The 25th.
The 25th of March from
Friday
6
night.
to 8. I'm going to post more information about that. I just ran out of time. And Terry and Donald both say that parking is very tricky, so we should try to carpool if we can.
Mhm.
And I think that's it, everybody.
We
Should
can,
I?
we can post some information about parking. It's best to park by Botanical Gardens.
Okay.
Things like we can get all the information out.
I'll make a flyer and post it on Facebook. Just
Right.
mark that date.
Great.
Marion, you're trying to talk, but you're muted. Are you trying to unmute, Marion? Yes. Little button on the left, bottom left.
I'm unmuted.
There you are.
It's hard to mute
Oh,
Miriam.
weird. So hey, tuna fish. So does going to a park count as streets?
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
My
It's public.
Yeah, it's my grandson's birthday party. And
Yeah.
they'll be decked out as fairies.
You
So.
can post, just for the record, you can post anything you want. It's just one of the great things about these challenges. I don't know about all of you, but I kind of think about it all the time now, because I know I have, spring. I was definitely thinking about spring all the time because of Donald's challenge. So I know this is going to help me to force me to get out and shoot more. So I love that. I mean, it could be Fairfax, street photography in Fairfax. It doesn't have to be San Francisco.
Does it have to be a new photograph, a new one, or?
Anything, no rules, at
Okay.
least not at this point.
I'll try to make it new, but
Okay.
I like your hat, Arnold.
oh yeah, I'm changing my name to Arnold. Until the good name is restored, I have to go this way.
Perfect.
And it's blue too. Everything is
Really?
pointing out it's blue, so there shouldn't be too much problem.
I look
Stephanie,
forward to seeing you guys around town.
I heard my name.
yeah, thank you for inviting me. I have the pleasure of seeing a lot of what Terry has presented long before you have. I get the comment on them, and Terry will tell you some. There's one photo in there that you saw of the lady at the bus stop that was a very, very interesting one, because when I saw it, I looked at the time on her watch and kind of wrote Terry a story about what I thought that picture really, what she was doing, and that she was perhaps where she was working and so forth. But I have the pleasure of seeing these long before you all do it. And I have to compliment him on, he does just an absolute super job.
Thank you, brother.
I agree.
By the way, it's interesting when you do street photography to think about a story that street image might tell. And to me, I think when you put together, just like Pat was doing there, you put a story to the photo. It doesn't even have to be accurate, but just what do you think that person's story might be? Because you don't know them, you don't know anything about what's going on. I just make it up myself, but so.
Great.
I've been making up my own story every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miriam knows that's true. I've known her since I was like 16.
God
Miriam,
forbid.
where do you live? Are you in Fairfax?
Yeah.
Ah.
For now, yeah.
Yeah, I've known Miriam for years. I can vouch for her.
We've never met.
No, we haven't. Well, we're meeting right now.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Glad to meet you.
I stayed
But
in Miriam's
Sierra
tent.
was a young
Yeah.
one when I knew him.
I stayed in her tent in a rainbow festival in the mud with her like 5 kids or something.
My kids were talking about that the other day, how awful it was.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Feel free to email me with suggestions, or, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So I hope it's been fun for you all. And if you have any, I loved that we could, Joanne, I guess I kind of botched your question a little bit, but we'll have to come up with another discussion topic for next week too, or next month.
Thanks for the pictures, Terry. I think I might have met you at Whistle Stop a couple years shooting.
You might have.
Yep.
Okay.
It was a great presentation, Terry.
Thanks.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Really beautiful.
Fabulous.
Now I want to go back out and travel again.
You make me want to travel.
Yeah, well,
Good.
it's tough staying home lately.
Be really cool to organize a trip sometime.
Yeah,
I'd have to say it would be probably a year before I could afford it, but it'd be really neat to do something like that.
we can do statewide trips, you know.
I've organized trips for kids, photo trips for kids, but I've never done one for myself.
Let's time travel and go back.
All right, everybody.
Yeah.
I will see you all in a month. I'll post the date, or no, maybe I can figure it out real quick here. The next meeting, official meeting, will be the 21st, April 21st, the third Thursday of the month.
Okay.
All right, can't wait to see your presentation, Raven, and I'll see you
Thank
all
you.
in a month.
Oh, we're gonna see each other before. We're gonna do the,
Oh, the Ferris wheel, yes, of course.
Ferris wheel.
and I
Trish
photographed
might
that.
not be able to make it, but
Yeah, Trish and I did that Ferris wheel before. Bring a tripod, you need it.
Okay.
It's a blast to get that wheel moving around, all kinds of patterns. It's beautiful.
It'll be interesting to see, again, like I said this last month, but how we all interpret the same exact subject.
Yeah, I'll post some of my previous photos on the site.
Great.
Take a look.
Can I make one little shameless promotion here?
Sure.
I've got a photo exhibit going on right now at the Fairfax Library, and it's documentary photography. It's not beauty photography, but it's kind of with a bit of a few stories mixed in. So if you
Well,
happen to get a chance,
if you have a flyer, why don't you post it on our Facebook page?
yeah, I'll do that.
Thanks, Peg. I'll look forward to it.
Cool, thank you.
Talk to y'all tomorrow.
Yay,
Great.
All right, everybody. Signing off.
thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thank you so much,
Bye.
Carrie.
Okay, thanks. Bye.